Hi, I'm Don McCauley, and this is FSM RX.
Welcome to FSM RX'd. So hey guys, we're here at FSM RX'd and we've got Muscle Drivers assistant head coach Don McCauley with us. And Don has graciously a second time decided to give us some time to go over some questions. Our previous interview it did happen, but it didn't get recorded. So on social media to you guys, it didn't actually happen. So Don, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Stephen. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Okay, so Don, for people that don't know, you're currently at Muscle Driver, but before that, you've been doing a weightlifting coach for now nearly 30 odd years, and you coached before that even your football, soccer, basketball. You've been in the coaching game for quite some time. How did being a strength coach and coaching team sports lead into being weightlifting?
Yeah, well, that was back in the 70s. I did a little weightlifting. I did a little weightlifting because I had been a long distance runner and had come down with asthma and couldn't really run at a high level anymore, or at that time anyway, and got into weightlifting for a while. As it turned out, a few years later, a friend of mine who was a runner and a coach also of a high school track and field team got me to call me up one day out of the blue and said, we need a throws coach. And I said, well, that's good, but I've never thrown anything. He said, oh, you did that Olympic lifting stuff, and that's close. He said, you can teach yourself to throw better than the assistant I've got now. And I said, yeah, probably I can, So that started that, and that got me kind of into the local high school, and had a very cooperative athletic director, very forward-looking, and he was also the head football coach. So it got me into coaching the football players and just about all the other sports as well, once we started to do weightlifting a little bit with the throwers. Then I ended up drawing a couple of lifters from the local area that had been pretty good lifters and wanted to get, they knew me from lifting. And that's basically how it started. Just sort of snowballed from there.
And then with well, obviously, as you started that, did you find it was hard to kind of get those younger guys into the weight room to do the lifts because they kind of would have wanted to play their sports more, or did they, once they started lifting the barbell, did they find it getting easier?
Like I said, luckily for me, the athletic director, a guy named Keith Kenyon, who was also the football coach, he had been an assistant up at Syracuse University those days. He'd been a player and an assistant after that, and they were very forward-thinking at that time. They were already into the Olympic lifts for football, and so he endorsed my idea of doing the Olympic lifts, there being more important than the bench press, for instance, for football, and doing the full back squat down below parallel and all that. So with that endorsement, it made it a lot easier. And then within my first year or two, it was in the first year or two, I got a guy to come up from the New York Giants, big football team up at that time, and he was their strength coach, and he did a seminar or clinic with us, and he basically said, this guy has on the right path here. This is what we do down there, and that gave me, it gave me a lot of credit, or not credit, but a lot of street creds, let's say, and so the kids bought into it. That's basically it, and they found later on that, they were withstanding injury better, and also some of them that never would have gotten on the field, second, third string guys, were getting on the field for some playing times because they were just stronger, and that helped.
So obviously you coached it, and like I would agree with you that every sport, but like Olympic lifting would definitely benefit any power sport or field sport that you require, like including like American football. We'd have like Gaelic and hurling here, but
Yeah.
definitely, well, if you're more powerful and you're faster, you're going to perform better on a sport on a pitch or a court.
Right. It's got the Olympic lifts or variations of them have, in my mind, got to be the core of every strength program for every power sport there is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sense to not doing that. You increase the force possibilities out of knee and hip extension, and plus you learn to move faster all the way through your body, and you learn how to sequence the muscle firing of the body. So that's just going to help you in any sport you're in.
Yeah. Cool.
Doesn't matter. You know?
Through your obviously like your extensive career as a weightlifting coach, then you kind of came across and developed, well, you're the first one to mention it, called the catapult method, and about the triple extension, that you're not exactly extending the knees fully, it's more of a hip and then drop. But you, like the last time we spoke, you said that it was already out there, it's just you kind of put your own name to it, your own kind of wording around it.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the regulations of weightlifting allowed the bar to touch the body, the description of the lift had to become different. Before that, when you couldn't touch the bar to your body, I think the pull in Olympic lifting could have been described as a jump. Drive from the floor, had to jump with weight in your hand, trying to increase the force, trying to accelerate the bar all the way and get around it and such. After the bar started to touch the body, it really became a situation where you were using the human body as, I called it, a catapult. You were using the extension forces that are in the human body to catapult the weight up. You're actually, although you don't stop, you momentarily have that body basically or that bar rather, basically in your lap, and you extend and drive it upwards. So I call that a catapulting motion. Not that you drive it away from you, as some have misconstrued, but you extend and drive it up vertically over the base. But that's a catapulting motion. It's different than a jump in that there is a, if not a pause, there is a slowdown in the middle, and it's definitely not jump-like anymore. And jumps also brought into the vernacular the idea of the what I call excessive triple extension, and triple extension as the goal of the pull. And that I vary from what people talk about. I don't say that there's no triple extension. It certainly does happen in almost everybody's pull. Triple extension, as you could basically find it in any textbook, happens. However, driving to triple extension as a goal of what you're trying to do is not right in my mind. You drive the bar, accelerate the bar off your upper thigh or hips, depending on the lift, and then basically you go down under the bar. You don't try to do anything more than that to make yourself any taller. You may make yourself taller because there's kind of a follow through, but that's all in transition to going under the bar, not to get the bar to go higher. The bar's already, we know the bar is already gone from your legs or hips by the time your hips and knees fully extend, if they do at all. We know the bar's already in flight, so there's no purpose to it. And it's a wasted time, it's a wasted effort. And if you're teaching kids to get up on their toes and to shrug their shoulders up, which is also incorrect, then they're wasting time and they're misplacing the bar. The bar will end up being forward, and the athlete will end up being slow in transition.
And even when you were over in Ireland there a few years ago, when I did your workshop, you were saying that if you do extend fully and then shrug your shoulders, you're pulling the bar even higher, which means you're higher, so you have to travel further to get under it. So
Yeah,
it wouldn't make sense.
No, you're not changing relative positions of you and the bar, which after the hip extension, the knee and the hip extension coordinated on the way up, there's no sense for you to keep getting taller along with the bar flying upwards.
Yeah.
What you want to be doing is transitioning to getting under. If you go through all the rest of that stuff, you're not changing anything, and actually you're using smaller muscles to try to elevate the bar, which isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're delaying your descent. So it's ineffective, it's inefficient, and shouldn't ever be taught that way, as far as I'm concerned. And I think it bears out if you look at the many videos of world-class lifters that's on YouTube now. You see what happens really with the bar. If you slow those things down, you see when the bar is accelerated from their hips or legs, and how little more they do to go up than that. They start changing around. Their force pattern is now put into pulling themselves under the bar, basically.
Well, we do see that here, and I know, like, obviously you've visited on, you've met some of our guys like Kevin Darcy and Connor Flynn and stuff, and like they're some of our like Kevin be one of our like top coaches, and he's been a great athlete in our Irish weightlifting and stuff for us. But then you get the likes of guys like guys going to see Koloff and Apti and all these amazing powerful lifters, and they're coming back and going, oh, well, I want to try this and I want to try that, and they're trying to put too many tools into their programming. Like, instead of dropping under the bar, they want to slide their feet out, or they dip and they don't drive it up, they just press. And I've seen it happen before, and it's like, I want to do this and I want to do that. But for how you coach and with the guys at Muscle Driver, would you kind of more focus on literally just stay the course, stick to the program, and when you plateau in your lifts, then we start looking back at technique?
Yeah, well, I look at technique all the time, but I believe that you should not just take everything that flies by the window and bring it in and try to make it part of your technique. First of all, a lot of these guys out there giving clinics are athletes, very good athletes. They have years and years of training. They may still not know exactly what they do in their own lift when they're actually lifting. They may have learned many things early on in their careers that were done by their coaches as drills to make them do certain things and to know their bodies and to feel the musculature rather, and all this stuff. But those aren't necessarily what they ended up with as technique. You can get really crazy if you start adding everything that everybody says. And try to keep bringing in the new things. Oh, I read this. Oh, the Chinese method. Oh, this. Oh, that. Whatever. I teach a version of the pull based on the S pull, based on the old European pull. I like to teach the version I teach because I think it's easier to make more people get more weight up than any other I've found. It doesn't mean it's the only technique you can use. That would still be called a catapult of sorts, no matter what it is. It differs from the Chinese type pull that some are doing. It differs from the pull that Kakashvili and Dimas used to do, which was a straighter, closer to the shin kind of pull. Hardly any foot movement at all in those guys. Kakashvili essentially didn't move on the upward drive. He moved his feet kind of on going under. But, you can't keep adding things in, and you've always got to realize that, there's a reason these guys are the best in the world. They're different. And they can do different things with success, whereas we might not be able to.
Well, that's it. I suppose it's like, obviously, if you're lifting from a young age, and then like you're genetically gifted as well, that's why the best of the best. And then you're trying, unfortunately, like you are given a certain genetic code, and you're kind of dealt a hand of cards, and you can only work to that potential, and you can train through it and go as far as you can. But some people will just do it better and do it differently, and succeed. And I suppose a lot of people see these guys and they want to beat them, but have like just can't accept the fact that they probably will never get there or never achieve that level in weightlifting or any sports for that matter.
It's very true. I mean, you know, you're talking about the exceptions. You're talking about the freaks.
Yeah.
Really, you know, I mean, the people are not the same. They can do things that some of us can't do. And many of them, as I say, I've known a few of these people, and they don't really have a great grasp about how they do what they do.
Yeah.
They're just able to do it. Now, they may blurt out that, oh, this is the technique I use, and, you know, usually it's just something they've heard a coach say.
Yeah.
But really, you know, when you watch them lift on YouTube or in big contests, it doesn't sound like what he said in the clinic. Well,
Yeah.
because it's not, you know, and it gets tough. I remember years ago, it was when running. I was a runner for a long time. When I was a little kid, I was a runner before many people in this country ran sport. And when the boom hit in the early 70s of running, my God, suddenly there were an awful lot of experts.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of people wanted to buy the shoe that such and such a runner wore, or this and that, or try to do the training that this guy did. And no, it doesn't work out. You know, some of these guys could run in the shoe boxes and beat you. Never mind shoes; they wouldn't even have to have the shoes.
Yeah.
You know, some of these guys can train 200 miles a week and survive it.
Yeah.
Most people can't. You know, and I was a pretty fair runner, and I could never ever train at that kind of mileage. I would break down, and it didn't serve me well. A particular type of mileage served me very well. I think I got all out of it that I could, considering asthma and different things.
Yeah.
And it was fine. But if I tried to, oh my God, I've got to do the mileage the Kenyans do, or I'll never beat them. Well, I wasn't going to beat them anyway. But I'd have been dead if I'd done their mileage.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference.
And just for a bit of trivia, Don, what was the biggest or race you've ever done, or run?
The fastest I ever ran, and I'm typically a slow twitch guy. I did a 10-mile race in 59:32. 10 miles. I'm not sure what that is in kilometers. I think 12 is 8, so it might be near 14 to 15 kilometers.
Yeah.
Something like that is as close as about it gets. But yeah. And funny thing is, within that particular race, I also ran my best 10,000 meter time, which shows how slow twitch I am.
Yeah.
You know, which was, I think it was 36:12, 36:15, something like that within that race. So, you know, I was a long distance guy. I was in my 30s then. The asthma had taken certain things away from me.
Yeah.
I had been, when I was younger, I was asked to be a collegiate runner, and I just never could get there because of the asthma. Happened to hit it about the same time. But yeah, that was about the best I was, and I felt pretty good about that. That put me in the upper bracket of finishers in most of those races.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like, that's a very impressive time. Like, I recently signed up for the Dublin City Marathon to run my first marathon. I don't run. And that's going to be a challenge to put in the miles. But I have a good running coach. He's grinding me every Thursday. He's making sure I get out. So it's I'm slowly building the miles. Slowly.
Yeah. When you get up to that marathon distance, it has an awful lot to do with willpower and hopefully getting as many miles in while your body has still got some energy in it, some food in it.
Yeah.
To give to your muscles. They're just not eating themselves.
Yeah. Well,
or the stores that they have in them, you know, or whatever's left. It is a challenge. It's a challenging distance.
So back to weightlifting. So based off like obviously what we've just spoken about, you also wrote a book, and it's you gave it out at your seminar when you're in Ireland, the Power Trip.
Power
I have
Trip.
a copy on the table. And
Yeah, good.
it's
Nice.
as you said, it's a guide to weightlifters, coaches, and parents, which is kind of unusual to kind of write a book catered towards like with for parents in mind.
Mhm.
Because I know that some parents don't like, especially in Ireland, weightlifting would be considered something that a teenager shouldn't really be doing, because weights is damaging, and well, if done wrong, it can be, but obviously if you're coached. So how did that come about for like kind of making sure that the parents understood that this was a safe thing to do in a safe environment?
Yeah, well, that was something I had thought of for, quite a few years, and because of the same myths that were you just spoke of, people wouldn't do it because it was dangerous, it was going to stunt growth, it was all these things, and I felt that nobody had written a book. There are a couple of books out about weightlifting. CrossFit, at the time I wrote the book, which was I think 2010 is when I got that out. I'd written it in the prior year.
Yeah.
There still just wasn't much information out there. And I wrote the book as kind of an introduction to parents and coaches, sometimes coaches, because many coaches had bought the myths as well,
Yeah.
and athletes who were looking for information, and trying to dispel these things and trying to give them a guide. I felt they needed it. And the parents are going to be the ones. I believe that kids should be introduced to weightlifting early, through a CrossFit type program,
Mm.
where they're just on the platform doing what I call a mini man workout. That's just what an adult would do, only you do it. You're a kid.
Yeah.
I think they've got to have other things that they've got to be doing mostly, and have the sport introduced to them. So I just wrote it like that, and I wanted to give people a guide, and hopefully it did. I think it did. I've had, not that I've ever sold tons of that book, but people know it. People buy it. I guess you can get it online,
Yeah.
through some ebook or something like that, and it shows some form, basically. I just looked back at it a few days ago, and I may have to retake some pictures. I've
Second edition.
changed my mind on a few things. So, but basically, like I say, it was just that's why I wanted. That's why. Well, the book is written kind of like a road trip,
Yeah.
like on a road trip, and that's what I wanted to do: give people a guide, a map, to get into the sport, and let them know at least the basics of what's foolish and what's not.
Yeah. And you said you brought up CrossFit there, and I know we spoke about it last time, and like we have a CrossFit here, and you have your own CrossFit Savannah. In like I know that like your what we spoke about last time is CrossFit has really growing weightlifting, and I know in Ireland weightlifting was very small 5 years ago, and because of the growth of CrossFit, we have we're guys representing at the Europeans this week, and
Yeah.
at least two of them were from a CrossFit background. One of them still competes. I think she's definitely entered the Open and stuff like that. One might be coming back to CrossFit. Um, and in America, it was kind of the same way. It was America, like even though you had a much bigger pool than we have, but I remember there was an interview with Mike Bergner. And he was saying that when you went to a weightlifting meet, there'd be very few spectators, and now there's like it's a good huge crowds turning up.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no doubt about it. Weightlifting has brought this sport back, as far as I'm concerned, has brought it back from the grave in this country. I mean, there were just you used to go to national meets, national championship weightlifting meets in this country, and basically it was like a family picnic.
Yeah,
It was like everybody's mother and father and brother was there, and there weren't many more people there than that. The crowds were very small. The number of lifters, I think, I want to say that at one time in the late 90s, I want to say that there were under 800 lifters in the United States that were between the ages of 16 and 30. I think that's about right. I think that's about right. So in a country this size, at that time 300 million,
yeah,
we had 600. You know, it was nothing. I remember I was over last year to Ireland and talking to, I don't know whether it was Kevin or it was Harry Leach or one of those guys, and he was saying that at one time in Ireland they were down to 70 lifters.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, CrossFit's brought us back and introduced the idea that there is a sport like this to so many, now millions of people.
Yeah.
That it's benefited us, not only in fans, but because CrossFit tells their people that that is the height, that is the top of movement. The Olympic lifts are the, you know, the kings of movement as far as neuromuscular complicated movements. They're fantastic. And with endorsement like that from a sport and a group like CrossFit, you get fans. And then, of course, what you also get is you get a natural gene pool of people that can do the sport. And it's fantastic. It's been fantastic. Now I go to I was watching it, not last American Open, it may have been the one before it, the 40, on a Friday, what we used to call the sessions that nobody sees. On a Friday, I think it was the B session of the 48 kilo women, or something, the B session. It wasn't even the A, it was a B session. And this place was packed with cheering fans. I mean, it was just, there wasn't a seat to be had, and they were cheering everybody. They would cheer, you know, just fantastic stuff. And never mind, the A sessions were, you know, just it looked like a rock concert. You know, it was unbelievable. And no, you know, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to go compete when it's like that.
Yeah, and it's more, yeah, it's more inviting, and the atmosphere, and you're more motivated on the day. You walk onto the platform, there's 20 people in front of you, there's 500 people in front of you. It's a bigger gig. And I know in Ireland, like the guys have kind of the likes, as you said, Harry and Kevin, and I know Sammy, and all the guys that are now on the board. They really are trying to give it a revamp and put a proper scheduling in for athletes that are on the squads, and try and make Ireland like a top well, get us up there and compete with some of the best in the world and stuff like that. And we're not there yet, but we're going in the right direction. And with the pool that's coming through CrossFit, it's slowly happening, but it's kind of, I think it's a slow burner for Ireland, obviously population wise.
Sure.
But it's getting there. Except, like, I don't know. I think I mention Clarence Kennedy, one of our Irish lifters.
Yeah.
He snatched 170, I think it's 175, clean jerk 220. So he's our freak phenom, but again, he's the genetic. He's the freak that knows.
You know, there are these guys around, but if we're having them, we're finding them now, you know, you don't even know what you've got unless people know there's a sport there.
Yeah.
That actually has international implications. Then, you know, how are you ever going to find out what you've got? You don't know. You can't because again, it's not like coaches, especially back in the 90s and 80s in our country. It wasn't like you were making any money coaching.
Yeah.
You couldn't exactly go out and scout.
Yeah. Come join me for nothing.
You were busy doing whatever job you did so you could coach.
Yeah.
It's only been, again, it's been recently that more jobs have cropped up that you can actually make a living in coaching, which is, to me, astounding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just astounding.
And even you were saying there, just at the beginning, that you have some lifters going off to do a meet, and there's a purse for the winner, which, again, are like we've a bunch of competitions every year, but like if, like, I know it's not all about money, but if there's money on the line, athletes can, and their sponsorship there, athletes can actually start focusing. They don't need the job to sustain them, and they can focus on becoming better and better and better. But like, is that something that's kind of always been there, or is that just very recent that guys are getting paid if they compete and win?
No, this was never there. Matter of fact, it was, you know, I would say up through the 90s even, it was looked down upon by the people that were running Olympic lifting that there should be contests with actual money to be won, purses and stuff like that. You know, so I don't know where they were. You know, what they thought it. Maybe they thought it was 1896 or something like that. But no, of course not. The purses weren't there. The money wasn't there. It made it hard for coaches to stay coaching. It made it hard for athletes to get places. And I mean, it's not like you have to be a crass, greedy capitalist or something to want to win a few bucks at the meet. It shows that the sport is healthy. And certainly when CrossFit came on, there was no second thought about, it didn't have to be just the national CrossFit games that there was some money at. You could win some money or something or a prize at the local affiliates match-up or something like that. I mean, it just makes sense. Again, it shows that there's a healthy sport there.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean every contest has to have a money prize or anything else, but it means that they can, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, it just follows. I mean, you can't devoid, or you can't blank your memory to the fact that every real professional sport has money involved with it, and then yours doesn't. Yeah. Yours is a little medal that you go home with, which may be wonderful, and that is the idea is to win and to do better. But the money thing makes it, to me, like I say, it makes it seem like it's a healthier endeavor. The sport itself is healthy.
Yeah, like if you like, it's all well and good, and you're in your early 20s and you're competing. You might live at home, or you're sharing a house with someone. But if you want to buy a house or get married, have kids, you have to earn money for that. So it could keep guys in the sport longer and doing what they love rather than have to give up, and then it's in their late 40s in a pub going, shoulda, coulda, woulda, could have been a contender, could have been this, only for this and that and the other. Well, the option was there. You could have went for it, but you didn't. But I think it would be something. Obviously, the likes of America has it a bit bigger now. But for CrossFit in Ireland now, I think there's a competition coming up. There's a $5,000 prize for the winner. And that's brilliant because it's becoming the most popular competition of the year, and it's getting more attention from around Europe. That Ireland are producing some good athletes, great athletes, and it's that whole thing, I think, of actually paying athletes or getting proper sponsorships, and that kind of leads to where kind of you and Glenn with Muscle Driver have been kind of not paying athletes as much, but sponsoring athletes to train full time, and helping them out in such a way that they can commit to their training to get to Pan Am's, the Worlds in October, and stuff like that.
Right, sure. I mean, but to live the fantasy that you're going to create a program in your country that has international athletes that are really competitive, and not pay them something along the way, one way or another, is just silly. Yeah. I mean, it's got to. They've got to, just like you're talking about, an athlete, like, across CrossFit, I mean, not CrossFit, but Muscle Driver is the pioneer in this corporate sponsorship of athletes. And we don't, it's not like we sponsor the athlete with a living wage, which, they don't make their whole salary here. But we give them, depending on their ability, we give them a little stipend, but it makes their life a lot easier to where they can do things like run their own clinics, or teach at a local CrossFit, or do remote coaching online, and they're not out busting their hump, working some graveyard shift to try to make a living and pay the rent. And so they can train. You've got to give athletes a chance to train. If they want to be international, don't keep them so they basically just local level, regional type athletes as far as how they can live their life. It just is not going to work. It's not going to work.
And then you, as you said, you have a meet coming up. You have guys, I know the Pan Ams are coming up in July, and then you've got, you're saying the nationals have been moved now till the end of the summer?
Well, August, mid-August for the Nationals. The Pan Ams are coming up in July.
Yeah, John.
The last Pan Am trials, the real last Pan Am trials are coming up in a couple of weeks for us.
Yeah.
We just some good news from the IWF that they mucked up the math, and we ended up with an extra slot for men and women for the Pan Ams. So instead of 2 and 3, we've got 3 and 4.
Nice.
Which I was kind of wondering about, because our last Pan Am team did pretty well, and I thought we had earned more slots than we had, but you know, I'm not there and I'm not doing the math, so I didn't know. But suddenly, just a couple of days ago, I got word that instead of 2 men and 3 women, it's going to be 3 men. Oh no, it's going to be 4 men and 3 women instead of 3 and 2. So that's nice. It makes the trials coming up in a couple of weeks a little more interesting. A little more. It just means I'm going to have to do a little more of the math that I hate so much in the back room when I have to think fast with numbers. I hate that. But it looks like, I mean, we've got a better chance at Muscle Driver of putting a couple on the team.
Yeah.
And maybe one of our women too. So we'll see. We'll see. But
and then,
great stuff.
With your guys currently, do you have anyone like? I know the Worlds are coming up, and we've 1 or 2 people that I think would obviously love to go. But is America sending a good team, or do you think what do you think America's hopes are going to the Worlds, and in any categories do you think he's going to excel, get back up in the top form?
I think we're going to have a team that can get us at least the minimal slots from the Worlds. And that's the first time I've said that in a long time. I think possibly the same with the women. The women might even do a little better. The men, I think, are looking stronger as we go into this quad a little bit, and we may have some that are developed enough to like I say, get us to the point where we might earn 3 slots, which is the minimum that you can earn at the Worlds. That'll be interesting. I think we've got, obviously we've got a couple of guys, 2 or 3 guys at Muscle Driver who could be players in that.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get them all healthy and then get them up there, and then we've got some other athletes around the country out at the OTC and different places they can do okay. They can do okay. The numbers don't look as depressing as they have in the past to me. We got some people that can knock on the door, getting some pretty good points for us.
Good. So with weightlifting, I know like the last time we spoke as well, like we were saying, like there was something missing with weightlifting, USA weightlifting. Like you were on the kind of high level national stage, it dropped. Is that just because of programming, or not programming, but the weightlifting program being promoted and such to try and pull those athletes that could go to the next level? And is that changing for you guys now when you're developing that across the country?
I think I think what has to happen still here for us and to put it in perspective, or what I believe anyway, that's my belief, is that a country this size should produce a team that puts some of its athletes in the A session at the Worlds. We shouldn't be settling for C session things all the time. I mean, sometimes the numbers are just against you, but we should have some A session lifters consistently, and we should have a team that's in the top 15 to 18 all the time. We don't have that. I think one of the reasons we don't have that is there is still not a great deal of cooperation and coordination between coaches at the more local level, ourselves included, and coaches and people at the national level, the OTC, and the idea from the administration of the USAW that, in my belief anyway, that the national program should not be as centralized as it is. There's an awful lot of people that want to keep this program based around the OTC, rather than, say, support programs like Muscle Driver, and there are several others, and there are big clubs, East Coast Gold, this and that. They'd rather draw from those clubs and take athletes and bring them to the OTC if they look really promising.
Yeah.
which tends to raid your local clubs of good athletes, which always creates a little friction.
Yeah.
The cooperation isn't really good. I think it's got to be changed. I've always been for having many more regional centers of the USAW around the country, and just rather than create these regional centers out of nothing, go with where they already have good athletes and call them a regional center.
Yeah.
and start cooperating more, and start sharing some of the things that you can do for athletes in the center that sometimes the athletes out here don't get, and should be getting, because they're just as good or better. In a country this size, to me, because we're huge, it's difficult to have a central location where everybody's going to be, and a central type of location too, where everybody's going to be really happy to go to.
Yeah.
We're like I say, a huge country, and we're also a country of people that don't necessarily like to join a group for just the sake of joining a group, or somebody telling us it's the best group. Sometimes we tend to want to join our own group because it's guys we like, whatever, in our area. The coach, I like the coach, whatever it is. That might be different. It might be different for a country the size of Ireland. I'm not sure.
Well, the furthest distance,
but
we can all get together very quickly.
The one thing that has to be, no matter whether it's a centralized program or whether the program's power is dispersed among the clubs, is there's got to be cooperation between, and not necessarily everybody fighting over the best athletes, or not telling this guy what that guy's doing, or such like that. You've got to have cooperation if you're going to go anywhere. And even the biggest programs, what we call the centralized programs, like the old Soviet Union program and things like that, they gave rewards to local coaches who produced.
Yeah.
They did not just take their athlete and bring him to Moscow or wherever and say, well, nice job, see you.
Yeah.
Those guys were given rewards and brought along and given money for the fact that they produced athletes in their area. So again, and this happened, I know, in Korea too, South Korea, because I know a coach very well that worked at their OTC, and it was the same type of thing. You just didn't, basically, the Korean OTC type coach, they would share what they were doing for programming with everybody that had good athletes around the country. So there weren't any secret things or stuff like that, or the idea that, okay, your local guy got you to this level, now you come to the center and really learn how to lift.
Yeah.
That wasn't so much like that. And I think it's got to. I think there's got to be. I think there's got to be like that.
Yeah.
The sports in this country that have done really well are the sports that have dispersed the power. But usually among the clubs, like gymnastics in this country, track and field, things like that, swimming. The power is at the club level, not the center.
Yeah, grassroots, and build it up a bigger foundation will develop a better tier.
Sure.
Okay, Don, so we're going to wrap it up. We're going to ask, again, one more question. We ask everyone that comes on. And I know we've already mentioned it before, but if there was a book, and I think you picked the person last time who has influenced you the most, who was it, and why would you recommend us knowing more about that person?
Yeah, this was, I believe I talked about the Korean coach, Coach Kang, Shin Ho Kang, who had developed, was a coach personally of one of their gold medalists,
Yeah.
and was a coach at their OTC type program. Yeah, I would say he solidified my ideas in the early 2000s. We worked together down at Team Savannah down in Georgia,
Yeah.
and he actually lived in my house for quite a while. So we talked a lot about weightlifting, and he solidified, like I say, he solidified some of the ideas that I had, and taught me some brand new things. Yeah, I'd say he definitely is the man that kind of changed what I was doing and what I was thinking weightlifting wise.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, Don, again, thank you, second time, for being on the show. And everything looks in the background, it all looks like it was recorded properly and it's all holding strong.
Looks like it's a go, right?
Hopefully it's second time to charm is the hopeful. But Don, okay, so thanks for being on the show. Thank you very much, Don. I really appreciate it, and I'll have this uploaded over the weekend, and I'll send you the link as soon as it's ready.
Great, that'd be great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a million, Don. Thanks for your time. Bye now.
Hey guys, don't forget to jump over to our website crossfitfsm.ie and download your free Rogue Nutrition ebook. And also keep track of our blog, as we've got more upcoming interviews with great coaches and athletes coming your way.